Hi, beautiful filmmakers and screenwriters. It's Tuesday, so I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm here because it's not the day that I normally come on to do a live session, but something was on my mind and I wanted to share it because I feel like this could help a lot of screenwriters and filmmakers out there. And what I want to talk about today is self sabotage. Okay, so this is a pop up filmmaker session, and this is not a response to a screenwriter or a filmmaker. Usually, when I come on here, it's because somebody has written to me with a problem and I am answering their problem. Hi. Today, I'm not actually here because someone has written to me with a problem, but I'm reflecting on a problem that I see a lot of screenwriters and filmmakers struggle with, and this is self sabotage. Okay, and one of the most common kinds of self sabotage that I see amongst my students, and I have worked with a lot of filmmakers and screenwriters, and what I hear often from screenwriters is this: I just didn't have time to do my pages this week. Does that sound familiar? I just don't have time, right? And I just want to break this down because what I'm going to offer you is the idea that you do have time, but that there is something in you that is believing that it is not worth your time, right? There's some kind of fear or something that's limiting you, that's making you think that your time is better spent on other things. Okay, and I just want to dig into this a little bit and see if maybe this will help you and if you can have some kind of breakthroughs around this. I think it's possible to write a screenplay in less than 2 months by spending just 30 minutes a day at your computer. Okay, so that's I think 30 minutes a day actually at your computer writing. If you do that, you will write a screenplay, a complete feature length screenplay in 2 months. All right. You don't necessarily need more than that actually at your computer. Now, I do think there's other times that you'll need to be thinking about it, but you can do that while you're washing the dishes. You can do that while you are looking after your children. You can do that while you are walking to your workplace, driving to your workplace. Driving is a great time to do that, right? So there's many times that you can actually be thinking and doing the kind of work that you need to do in your screenplay, and actually sitting down and writing. You can do that in 30 minutes a day. And what I teach people is that you just need to write 4 pages a day. And if you've been doing that other work thinking about it, then 30 minutes a day, you can do it. So let's think about that. 30 minutes a day, when we say we don't have time, do we not have 30 minutes a day? Everyone, I'm going to say this, I really believe everyone can find 30 minutes if they really want to, right? Set your alarm clock 30 minutes earlier, right? Don't watch that Netflix show, right? Don't watch this, switch this off right now and just do your writing. Everybody can find 30 minutes a day. It's not impossible at all. Even if you're the busiest person in the world, you can find 30 minutes a day if you value it, and if it's important to you, and if you believe that you can have success with it, okay? And I'm going to offer to you that I think that when we can't find it, it's because there's other things going on. There's some kind of fear, or there's some kind of block, or there's some kind of limiting belief, some sort of sense that, it's not worth our time. And I was thinking about this because I thought one of the things when we're starting out is it's quite difficult sometimes to create boundaries around that time, right? We say, okay, I'm going to spend 30 minutes a day. I'm going to commit to doing this 5 days a week. And that's all I ask my students is that amount of time, and you can do it. But often then they say, okay, so that I'm going to put that 30 minutes, but something else comes up and they just let it go. And, and I would ask you, if you were an Oscar-winning screenwriter and you were saying, that's my writing time, and now a friend comes along and says, well, could you do this for me? Or your husband asked you to do something, or, wouldn't you just say, no, sorry, I need that time for my writing? And once you've put it in your schedule, it's in your schedule and it's not negotiable. You're not going to let it go. But you let it go because you don't really value it, right? Because you don't totally believe that it's really worth it, right? You haven't learned really to honor your path as a creative person. And trust me, the reason I can say this and that I know this is because I've been there. I've spent decades in that place. I grew up in a family, there's no way that I believed it was possible to be a writer. And I always felt like I almost had to apologize, for taking time to do my writing. And that I certainly felt like somehow I was being indulgent, this was something, that was kind of frou-frou and unnecessary and not really very important. If that sounds familiar, you need to look at those beliefs and you need to let those go. You need to transform those beliefs because it is important. I honestly have this feeling that we are on this planet to grow, right? We are on this planet to grow and evolve, and we do that by fulfilling our calling, right? And if you're called to write, you have to honor that. When you don't honor that, what happens, and when we're talking about the need of finding 30 minutes a day to write, like if you're not honoring that, what will typically happen is you will start to buffer, right? And what I mean by buffering is that you will start to eat, you'll be drinking alcohol, or you'll be binging Netflix, or you'll be, shopping online, or whatever it is that is your thing that you sort of do. And I think we do those things, we engage in that behavior when we're not fulfilling what we're here to do. And what we're here to do is to grow, right? And what we're here to do is create. So if you're not growing and you're not creating, you're going to do these other things. And then those things will take over that time, and that time could be spent creating, growing, and fulfilling your calling. Now, why don't we just do our thing? Like the question arises then, like, why don't we just do it? And I think we don't do it because we're afraid. Like, I really honestly think deep down inside us, it's fear, right? And I just ask you to dig into it for yourself. If you have been one of those people who's like, I just don't have time. Like, I want to write my screenplay, but I don't have time, right? I'm just going to say to you, like, dig into it. Because I think if you believed that your screenplay was going to be successful, you would find the time, right? I'm going to ask you this question right now. If you knew that your screenplay or your film, right, if you finished your screenplay or you got your film made, that it was guaranteed to be a huge success. It was going to make a ton of money, right? You're going to win awards for it. You're going to be an Oscar nominated screenwriter, right? Or Oscar nominated director. You're going to it's going to open all the doors for you. It's going to be a huge success. Now, if you knew that was the case, would you find 30 minutes a day? I mean, of course you would, right? I think there's very few cases in which we would still be like, no, I couldn't find the 30 minutes a day. Like, all my dreams would come true, but I couldn't find 30 minutes in a day to make that happen. Of course you would, right? So if you can't find it now, what is going on, right? You don't believe that. Right? You're not showing up. The reason you're not showing up is because you don't believe that that is possible. Or you don't believe it. You might believe it's kind of possible, but you don't really believe it will happen. So what I would ask you to take away from this is, can you start to believe that that is possible? And then can you just show up and commit 30 minutes a day to making it happen? Right? Because I can't say that, I cannot guarantee that if you write your screenplay, it will get made and it will, you will become an Oscar nominated screenwriter and all that stuff. I can't guarantee that. But what I can guarantee is that if you don't show up and finish your screenplay, you will not have any of that success ever, right? So you totally lose if you don't go down that path, right? There's no world in which you can become a success. No world in which your dreams can come true. But if you commit to showing up for 30 minutes a day, then you have that chance of the dreams coming true. Does that make sense? So, I see this all the time. I see this issue for people, like people going, I just don't have time. I've done it myself. I've played that game. I know what it is, and I go, I'm just asking you, if this is something for you, if this rings true for you, commit. Dig into why you're not making the time, why you're not honoring your creative path, right? And for lots of us, it's really deep. This is not easy work. I'm not suggesting it is, because it goes right into how we were brought up. It goes into these views and beliefs that got embedded in us from a very early age about following this kind of path. And for you to actually change those views. But I guarantee you that not having time is not the problem, right? The problem is something else about how you value what you're doing and how you think about, the importance of what you do. And once you can change that, then everything can change. Because if you can commit 30 minutes a day to writing your screenplay, in 2 months you will have a screenplay written, right? If you commit 30 minutes a day to really trying to get your film made, you will get your film made, right? But when you just make it all it's the lowest thing in your list of priorities, it will not get done, and you will not move towards your dreams. So I hope that helps. I feel like I'm sort of the master Olympic gold medalist of doubts and fears on the creative path. I've encountered them all those demons. I have been with them and I have lived with them. And when I look back at my life, and I'm old enough now to be able to look back at actually decades of habits and energies and when I've made excuses and when I've just shown up, and I know what goes on in those different times. And it all is about this. It's never about what's in the outside world. It's always about what's going on in my head. If you are a screenwriter and you're trying to write your screenplay and you're going, I don't have the time, I would ask you to just pretend for a week that you are already an Oscar-winning screenwriter, right? And you're now showing up for your job, right? This is not like you being silly. This is not you being fanciful, but you're already this like super duper incredibly accomplished screenwriter. And when you finish the screenplay, all the actors are going to want to read it. And I just wonder if you could really make yourself think like that for a week, how you would show up differently to writing your screenplay, how you would approach it. And I think like when you think like that, if you were like guaranteed success with your screenplay, then I feel like you show up differently. Like you're going to be there. If you knew for a fact, like as long as I finish the screenplay, I get $1 million for it and it gets made and it gets the best actors and it gets the awards, you will show up for it. So I invite you just to show up like that, just to make that your story. And I think that your chances then of that actually happening are going to be so much bigger than if you're sort of like feeling like you have to apologize for even writing your screenplay. If you feel like you have to make excuses to your families and friends. And I would just like to say, not all your family and friends will be supportive of you. Not all of them will have the vision for you. Not all of them will hold the space for you. You have to hold that space yourself. You have to create that space. Okay? So you have to honor it. And until you honor it yourself, though, until you say, right, I am making this time for me to write my thing, until you do that, how can you expect anyone else to honor that and respect that? You have to create those boundaries. You have to create that sense of value around what you are doing, but you can do it. So I hope this is helpful, and I hope that somebody out there who has been procrastinating and making the excuse that they don't have time hears this and realizes, you do have the time. It's not about the time. It's never about the time. And I invite you just to dig into like what belief systems you have to change in order to make sure you do show up for that amount of time every day. If you are looking for, and I'm getting some love there for it, yeah, I know. I need to tell myself this on a regular basis because I make up those excuses. I have little kids, I have like, all these different things going on. And it's so easy for me even to be like, I just don't have time to write. And it's like, okay, at what time do you just like create the space for that and honor it and value it, always, and just make it unequivocal. And I know that when I do that, shit happens. That's the thing, right? I know whenever I've done that in my life, it's amazing the magic that happens and that follows from it. But when I'm just sort of like making excuses and I don't show up, and I've done it, I've self-sabotaged in this way repeatedly in my life, I've done it many times, just not shown up. Showing up is everything. So if you are out there and you are thinking you're writing a screenplay, you want to write a screenplay and you would like some guidance on it, I invite you to check out my screenwriting course. Part of it is like, is this stuff, like on one hand, there is the how-to, and you get that in the course. It's an 8-week course and it guides you from concept right through to a completed draft. Each week you receive a video lesson in which you just find out exactly what you need to know that week, so there is a very practical element to it. But there's also that stuff about strategy, like mental strategy, and making sure that you finish it and that you do it and that you raise your consciousness around it so that you write the best thing. Because I think for so many of us when we're starting out, we're not getting paid. We're writing the script for nothing, right? In the hope that it might sell or get made. And so then we're sort of like, we don't really show up the way we ought to, And in the course, I just feel like that's a big thing for me, is sharing that stuff where I'm like, here are the strategies, like the mental strategies and things you have to be aware of. These are the things that can sabotage you along the way. And as I say, I've been sabotaged personally by almost all of them, but I've also worked with so many students and I've seen so many people go through the same things. And it's all to do with like not believing ourselves, not believing ourselves that it's possible. When you believe it, you will show up. When you believe it, that's when it will happen too, So if you are in a space of wanting to write a screenplay, I would encourage you to check out the screenwriting course. The link is in my profile, and we are starting, we've got a few students in now, and it's just starting to grow, and I think it's an amazing course and an amazing way to have support through the process so that you get it completed. All right, you guys, I hope that's a helpful one. As I say, I just keep thinking about it. Don't sabotage yourself. Just act as if your screenplay or your film is going to be like the biggest success ever. Okay? And show up every day from now on, at least for the next week. Just make this, for the next week, just go, okay, I'm just going to pretend that I know that if I finish this, it's going to be this huge success and it's going to change my life and it's going to change other people's lives and it's going to be amazing. And see how you show up for your work when you think that. All right, you guys. Love you. Take care and have a wonderful week.